you.
Good, that's wonderful. Hello, everybody. Nice to be with you again. It's our Friday lunchtime learning session, and I'm here with the wonderful Melanie Goodman, who is our absolute expert on LinkedIn, which is, gosh, so much what we need to know about. So, Melanie, you've had a really interesting career, and your original career path was law. You were actually a practicing solicitor, or
yeah, I was. Yeah, so I practiced in property finance,
which
is a long way from what I'm doing now. But yeah, as we sort of said before, it's useful in certain ways. From the point of view that it sort of widens the sort of sphere of people that I work with and want to work with me. A lot of the professions. But yeah, it's not where I'm at the moment. I haven't practiced for a long time, so yeah, don't ask me any legal questions.
No. I mean, are there any legal kind of issues that come up on LinkedIn, or?
Actually, it's a really interesting question, but there are, and that's normally to do with GDPR, because the one thing that you can't do on LinkedIn is you can't download. It's against the terms and conditions, let's put it that way, to start downloading lists from LinkedIn, connections, etc. So you can download a list of connections using their settings, but very few people make their email addresses public.
Yeah.
So it's quite difficult if you want to then go off and email all your connections, and it is a bit of a grey area, because I mean, we do it for clients where we gather lists of their connections and then they want to move them onto email. And you can approach it in a really nice way. You know, you email people and say, you know, look, we've been connected on LinkedIn a few months, and I thought it'd be really nice to, you know, move the conversation and stay in each other's world over email. And it does work really well. And it's a bit of a grey area, because there's a legitimate interest that you can sort of cite if they come back and say, you shouldn't have, like, why did you add me to your email subscriber list? And you can say, you know, that there is a legitimate business interest, that's why we're connected. But it is a bit of a grey area. So that's, I did write an article on it. So anybody who's interested, I will send it to them.
Oh, right. That's brilliant.
Yeah, about GDPR and LinkedIn. But generally there aren't too many legal issues.
No, sorry. I've kind of hijacked you already and
diverted you. It's more actually, yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, the LinkedIn terms and conditions are very ambiguous. They don't specify limits, so they don't tell you how many people you can invite a day. They don't tell you, you know, that they won't tell you how many people have rejected your invitations. But if it's too many, they can then put a restriction on your account. So it's a really they're quite sort of closed about letting people know their limits. I think it's because they don't want people to spam anyone, so everyone has to be careful, i.e. not go overboard. Whereas if you knew that you had 200 messages a day you could send, I think most people try and just max that out to get the most out of the platform. So I think that's why they do it. And it's not really very fair, because different people have different limits.
Yeah.
So
I see. Right.
Yeah. It's not like a one size fits all thing. So I've got some clients, and they have a limit of about, we can send about 150 invitations to connect for them a week. And then I've got other ones which are 100, and then there's a cutoff. You get a little pop-up that comes up and says you've reached your weekly invitation limit. And yeah, LinkedIn are they're very opaque about this. It's the same when you're searching. I don't know if you ever sort of search for leads or search for an ideal client on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
If you've got a basic free account, very quickly, once you've done about 10 searches, it will come up and say you've reached the commercial use limit of LinkedIn.
Oh, wow.
And they want you to pay for a premium account. So it's actually one of the advantages that often, you know, when I'm talking to people about the advantages of the different types of LinkedIn accounts and whether they need a paid account. And that is one of the main advantages, that if you have a paid account on LinkedIn, you can sort of search to your heart's content every day, building lists of clients and people to reach out to. And whereas you can't, if you've only got a basic account, you hit a limit very quickly.
So would you say, I mean, sorry, I'm really not hijacking what you were meaning to say.
It's fine, don't worry, we've already gone completely off.
I know, but would you say it's worth having a paid for account on LinkedIn, or does it just depend what you want to do with it?
A bit of both. So yes, it does depend what you want to do with it. So if you're somebody who only uses LinkedIn twice a week, you go on it, you have a little browse, you never post, you know, you just might like a few posts on it, and you're not really using it as a business tool, you're using it as a pure social media platform. I'll go and see what my ex-colleagues in the, you know, my old office were doing, you know, and you're using it like that. No, you don't need a paid account. As soon as you're using it though as a business tool, if you're using it to actually gain clients and to make some really quality connections, you know, who'll refer business to you, and you're really using it as a tool in your business and for marketing and for active marketing, yes, get a paid account, because there's quite a few features that you only have access to with a paid account. So I'll just sort of tell you basically, because it's something that I know that anybody listening might be sort of considering. And if you have a premium account, which is the one above basic, you can see the people for the last 3 months that have looked at your profile.
Oh.
And it's apart from the fact that it's quite nice to have a nose who was looking at your profile, it's actually really useful, because the connection rate, if you reach out to somebody and say, you know, like, hi Jane, I saw that you viewed my profile last week, having had a look at yours, I think it might be valuable to connect. The general acceptance rate of those sort of connect from profile views is often sort of 50-60%, whereas an average connection rate when people are just reaching out to people is around 20-25.
Oh,
so
it's different, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big difference. So it's actually really useful, because I think, you know, people already sort of feel sort of warm towards you, they've been slightly warmed up, they've looked at your profile, and actually just looking at people's profiles is a really good way to sort of warm people up before you send an invitation to connect, because they'll often get a notification on LinkedIn to say that you viewed their profile, so they'll already sort of, you'll be on their radar that, you know, that you were interested in them, and then sort of rather than sort of stalking them maybe like a few days later, send them an invitation to connect, or comment on their post and then send them an invitation to connect, or something like that. That works quite well as a sort of sequence. So
well, that's a great help to begin with.
Yeah, it's quite useful.
No, brilliant. So okay, so Melanie, I know you've got some slides to share and talk us through. So I'll let you share your screen, and just go ahead.
Okay, so can you see my screen? I'll just check that everyone can see.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, I can.
Good. Now, I just thought that I'd sort of give some tips as to how you can position yourself on LinkedIn, so that basically your profile ranks higher than your competitors, and that you're found by search engines. So for example, you know, if somebody, you want to be positioned, so for you, Lucy, you know, if somebody was searching for, you know, publishing, or, you know, female publishing books, or anything that had those sort of keywords in it, you would obviously want to come up highest on Google searches or search engines. So there's certain features that you can use on LinkedIn when you set up your profile to make sure that you are ranked higher than the next person who doesn't know anything about optimizing their LinkedIn profile and has just set it up. So I thought I'd just go through just some of the key ways that you can improve your profile and position yourself better to be found. And the first thing that normally stands out is people's headline. And for those of you who don't know what that's a technical term, it's the line below your name on LinkedIn. And the sort of standard for most people is to just write their name and their role. So they might write CEO at X company. But actually, there's a formula that you can use which will really it will really help your connection and your acceptance rate on LinkedIn, because it will help you resonate with the people that you're reaching out to. And it'll also help, sort of conversely, it will help you actually be found in searches. So what I would suggest is that you put your role, so you're like CEO, owner, founder, chief consultant, whatever your role is, but then say who you actually help. So whether you help, female business owners, or you help employment lawyers, or you help, and the more niche you are, that really helps when you're actually reaching out to people. If you then reach out to people in that niche, because then immediately you reach out to them, they see that you're exactly the sort of person that can help them. So the formula that we usually use is to write your role, who you help, and what they actually get by working with you. So what's the outcome? Will they get increased sales? Will they get increased productivity? Will they sort of feel more motivated? So so you need to think about the result that people get from working with you, because that's really what's going to convince them to connect with you and want to stay in your world, basically.
Absolutely, that's brilliant. I'm sure my my headline doesn't say that, so I'm just taking notes to go and correct my own profile when we finish. That's so obvious and sensible, but I'm sure that plenty of people, including me, haven't actually worked that out yet.
Yeah, it's probably the most key feature, and you can think about sort of using it in a slightly more savvy way than the average person, that you can put in a call to action in there. So you might want to put in a link to either your website, you might want to put in an email address or a telephone number, or the URL to a course you're running. And they won't be able to click on it because it's not hyperlinked in a headline, but they could just copy and paste it into, which is what people would do. And putting a telephone number in there is also, it's a great way of making it as easy as possible for people to reach you. Because let's face it, if they go to someone else's profile and they've just got, somewhere hidden in their profile is their contact details, and then you've got your telephone number right at the front, someone is naturally going to pick up the phone to you first and contact you first. And that's, I think, when you're crafting your LinkedIn profile, you need to make it as easy as possible for people to contact you. So
right.
not only sort of filling in the contact information tab, but putting it in sort of all the sections, in the about section, in the headline, your email address, and make it stand out. So
very good advice. Debbie Curtin is saying in the comments, we'll be tweaking my profile in a bit too. So yeah, it's having a great. That's and no emojis. I'm just reading from your slide as well.
Yeah, so I wouldn't put emojis in your headline, and it's actually if you put it in your name as well. There's been loads of people that have been banned from LinkedIn because what they've done is where it says that you should write your name, they've written their name and they've included like rainbows or smiley faces or or coffee cups or whatever, and actually it's against the LinkedIn terms and conditions. And as I said before, you really don't want to get on the wrong side of LinkedIn. Like, they just restrict your account or ban you overnight for very little.
Wow.
I mean, I know umpteen people who've lost their accounts and got them back and then lost it, and they haven't really done anything like wrong. They've just contravened a term and condition that they weren't that they weren't really aware of. And most people, that's one that most people don't really know about.
No, I'm sure none of us read the small print, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure if you look at the LinkedIn small print, there is a lot of it. There is like tons of it, but it's mostly about, I mean, they're mostly concerned about data and keeping data private.
Yeah.
It's really from that point of view, and spamming, it's a strange one because they encourage you to be more and more active on the LinkedIn platform, and they reward you. So the more you post and the more active you are putting content out, the further they will spread your content and your profile and push you out. So it's win-win if you're active on LinkedIn. But by the same rationale, if you're too active, they will then restrict your account and say like, oh, you've sent 50 messages today, that's too many.
Wow.
So it's a bit of a balancing act with LinkedIn, not to go too over the top, and you don't want people to report you for spam either. So
no, indeed. So yeah, so Michaela says, wow, you can lose your account for having emojis in your headline.
Yeah, I know somebody who did. She's got it back. She's a like a LinkedIn trainer, and she's got it back, but she probably got it back because she does have like sort of 80,000 followers. Right. But if you're sort of like the average, woman in the street, and you lose your account, it's going to be harder to actually get it back. So so you just want to be careful to
definitely worth bearing in mind.
Yeah, right side of LinkedIn. But that, I mean, to be quite honest, I don't want to scare anyone, that you'll probably get a warning first. They'll tell you to take it out. So,
right. That's reasonable.
Yeah, no, exactly. So it's sort of all about profile optimization and search engine optimization. So when you're I'm still talking about like the head, like your heading and taglines, and think about the sorts of words that people would be searching for. So it might not necessarily be your role, but it might be other keywords that you would associate with your sector. So, for me, people might not be searching for LinkedIn consultant or LinkedIn strategy. They might actually be searching for digital strategy or business generation. So you need to sort of think out the box a bit when you are writing your about section and your headline. So you just want to think about those things which will push you up the sort of search engine rankings. And when you're crafting your about section, so your main section, which I'll touch on a bit later as well, is there's certain things to insert, and that's your contact details, which I already mentioned earlier. But you might also want to put in, if you've got any other social media handles, like run a Facebook group, or if you've got a really active Twitter page or an Instagram page, you might want to put that in as well. And I would suggest setting up a calendar link. So whether you use something like Calendly or something that you might use a different platform, but they're free and they're really easy to set up so that people can book a call straight from your calendar, and it won't be hyperlinked again, because nothing in LinkedIn is hyperlinked. It's very annoying on people's profiles. Although there is a way around it. So I would suggest you put in a calendar link. I get loads of people book calls directly from because I often ask people how they sort of contacted me, came across me, because it makes for interesting intel to know how people find you. But I would suggest setting up a Calendly link. What you can actually do is you can actually add it to, I'm just going to see if I can hop over, if that's okay, Lucy, to my LinkedIn profile so I can show people. So if I just show, I'm assuming everyone can see my profile. There's this area here called a featured. So these you can see, I'll just sort of show you. If you've got a premium profile, you get this extra sort of data comes up. But here, I just wanted to show you, because you can see it in action. You could add your calendar link to this section here, which is called the featured section, which is like the first section people see after your intro when they come to your profile. So again, I've made it really easy for people to contact me by actually making it into basically a post that I've added, and then they can just click on it like that. You see, like that, and they go straight to my calendar page. Like
fantastic.
So
that's brilliant.
So that's the way to get around the fact that sorry, that's my profile. That's the way to get around the fact that that you can't hyperlink directly. Is to add it to your featured section. It actually gives you can add, there's a little plus sign, and it will say add link, and that's where you add your calendar link. So that's quite a good tip.
I'm taking notes, Melanie, here.
Oh, hang on. Yeah, so another quick one is that the URL at the top of your LinkedIn profile, when you joined, it probably said something like your name plus 34725, and they give you a random number. So change that. You can edit it, go into your settings, edit it, and you can put your role in there. So, you know, you could have like Lucy book publishing, whatever, you know, females. You can, so again, use a couple of keywords that you'd want to be found for, and that will help you in search engines. So customize your URL. So
brilliant.
Yeah, so that's in settings. And then there's looking at things like your photo, which actually is it's a slide further down. So this, when you have your when you upload your photos to LinkedIn, a little tip is to name, again, I know this is, I'm probably getting boring, keep talking about sort of profile like search engines, but if you name your file of your photo file, so .jpeg, name it with a keyword like publishing.jpg, or, you know, or if you're a coach, a female coach, you know, write a couple of keywords .jpg, and that also helps. And it's the same in the background image. But the general tips for LinkedIn photos is that you shouldn't have, they should be blank, so you shouldn't have any backgrounds. So, you know, you don't want to have like use a holiday photo or a party photo with other people in it. It should really just be head and shoulders of yourself so that you stand out. And if you've noticed, but there's now something on LinkedIn which is called cover story. So I haven't seen, Lucy, I think you've got a cover story, haven't you?
I'm not sure if I have. What is the cover story?
The cover, I think you have. I'm sure I saw it in yours, which is where you've got like an animated, it's like a video instead of a static photo.
Oh, I don't think I have. No.
Oh, you know, I thought you did. Okay. So if you have, so what you can do is, if you have a premium account, you can, instead of just having your sort of static profile photo, you can make a little 30-second video in there. And I can show you the way it looks is, so if I just go onto my profile, you can just see what it looks like. And you can just give people like a live introduction. I don't like listening to myself, so I'll just show you. So this is what it looks like, you see. So you can have a little video in there instead of a static photo.
Right. That's, yes, I have seen those, but I don't have one myself.
You
but
need
yes,
a premium
lovely
account for it, but they're just another way that you sort of stand out a bit. And also, you know, people like to feel that they know you, so it's another way that you know, to make yourself really accessible to people by, you know, by adding a little intro video. So yeah, I'd suggest that if you've got the option, you've upgraded to a premium account, that you add that.
Yeah,
and use an up-to-date photo. And so many times I've actually met people in real life, and I'm like, oh wow, like you look nothing like your photo, because the photo is like from when like they were in their first job, and they're now like 35 years on. And yeah, it's a bit of a shocker. So yeah, try and keep it real.
Yeah, absolutely. I hate that look on people's faces when they think, oh, that's you, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's really important to have regular you know, professional headshots done, so you don't kind of, you know, look as if you're trying to hide something.
It is actually. And it used to be, I don't know if you ever noticed or saw on the mobile, there used to be LinkedIn stories, but they got rid of them at the end of September, because they were quite a good way of people sort of to feel that they knew you, because I used to go on and do like a little story every morning, a little short video, and I think they are going to bring them back in a different form. So I know there's probably quite a lot of people that are familiar with stories from Instagram or Facebook, and I don't think they didn't cotton on quite as well on LinkedIn, but I think that's because also LinkedIn sort of did it half-heartedly. So they brought in stories, and then but they weren't as functional as like Instagram, so you couldn't do as much with them. There were no, like, you couldn't really click through, and they weren't great, but they were nice from the point of view that people felt that they knew you. And actually I used to find I could initiate quite a lot of conversation, say to people like, thanks for viewing my story, which is the same as I was sort of talking about with the, like, about when people view your profile, that you can say, you know, thanks for viewing my profile, or, you know, having had a look at yours. And it was the same with stories. So you can, and unfortunately with video, which is which is sort of how I've just come on to now, the content, adding content to your profile. So videos, I actually did a very quick one this morning. Literally, I was on the school run. So it was a really like, and I just like, not every video has to be, you know, beautifully edited and curated. And I just did a quick one this morning because I haven't actually done a video for quite a few weeks, and it's important to have a real mix of content on your profile. I think if you post sort of the same thing like every day, like, I mean, I know somebody who's in a very niche sector and he posts basically the same topic every day, which is fine, but there's a limit to the amount of times that you can comment on exactly the same topic unless people change it. So I think it's important to use a real mix of content. So whether that's using some video, documents, which I was going to talk a bit more about later, about sort of getting your posts to have a greater reach. But part of that is to use all the different options given to you by LinkedIn. So you might want to do a poll one day, you know, add a document, post a PDF the next day. I mean, polls are like mega popular at the moment. You've probably seen them on LinkedIn. They're everybody is sort of doing polls, because, and that's mostly because LinkedIn, they push, if you do a poll post and start a poll, which I'll just quickly, in case anybody doesn't know how to do that. So when you're on LinkedIn, when you go to start a post, it gives you this option. It's been a bit slow here at the bottom, with the little graph. If you press on that little graph, you get an option to set up a poll. Right. And you can ask people a question, and I do them strategically. So, you know, the idea is you want to ask them a question and their answer is going to show that they need to work with you. So,
yes,
you know,
of course.
That's, you know, I mean, like, people, you do see them, people are like, oh, you know, which do you prefer, like, you know, Mars or Bounty, or like, you know, or Kit Kat or whatever. But they're, to be honest, in the long run, those aren't really very useful for business. But so, although you might get loads of views on that post, I try and generally suggest that you use them in a bit more of a strategic way. So for me, you know, I might struggle with most. Do you struggle with, you know, with creating, you know, with creating content on a daily basis, or do you not post because of time constraints? And then the answers, the people who then answer and say to me, oh, you know, actually, yeah, I haven't got time for, you know, for creating content on LinkedIn, that then I can then, you know, obviously reach out to them and say, oh, actually, I might be able to help you with that. So, you know, so I try and elicit the answers that will actually help you in business, and to use the polls strategically. And you can also add links, as you can see, to YouTube. You can add images. There's their article writing platform. So I don't know if you're familiar, or anybody who's in the group is familiar with it used to be called LinkedIn Pulse, which is basically the ability to write an article on LinkedIn. People generally steer away from doing it because they get very, very low viewing figures compared with...
Oh, is that right? Gosh, I know I've written a few articles on LinkedIn, and yeah, that's interesting to know.
Yeah, you probably found, I mean, I don't know how many views you got on your articles, but I mean, probably, whereas you might get 1,000 views on a post, you probably get like 25 to 50 views on an average article, you know, unless it's a really popular one that's like evergreen and people search for it. But having said that, they are really useful for sort of showing your expertise. When someone comes to your profile and they can see, I mean, I try and write one article a month, and I already, I know, you know, that's not going to be the post that is going to get me thousands of views, but actually people can then, when you know, they look at, they obviously look at my profile, and it's a bit like having a portfolio of work. So people can see, you know, what you talk about, what you know about, your expertise. So it's useful from that point of view, and they're evergreen, they stay there. Whereas a post, you know, the LinkedIn feed is fast, it's fast moving. So if you do a post, it's disappeared, you know, very quickly. Although LinkedIn now do show posts for about 3 to 4 days after they've been posted, which they never used to. It used to be like Twitter, it just moved really fast. So it slowed down a bit, but so articles are useful from that point of view. And they've just recently launched that now company page. So if you've got a company page, you can write an article as a company page. So I'm just going to scoot back just to show you what I mean. So if I was to go to my company page, and where it says here, there's now an option to write an article. Whereas you never used to be able to write an article as a company, you could only write one as yourself. So that's new. And another advantage of writing articles is that they are indexed by Google. So if somebody types in a question and your article, it sort of gives the answer or is something along that topic, your article will come up in it like the top of a Google search. So
brilliant.
Yeah, so that's a real advantage to sort of spending the time and investing the time in writing a LinkedIn article. And it doesn't have to be massively long. It hasn't got to be like 3,000 words. You know, you can write an article of sort of 600 words, which is fine, like a blog post. So I know lots of people will be writing for their blogs, for their websites, and you might want to think about repurposing that as a LinkedIn article as well.
Definitely. Michaela's asking, would LinkedIn posts become more visible if you go and add comments a few days later in the same way as a Facebook post does?
Do you mean if other people add comments, or if you add comments?
If you add comments, I think she means to your own post.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of debate, because it used to be that everyone tries to sort of game the LinkedIn algorithm. So when you post, everyone used to put a comment immediately in the first comment underneath, to immediately to sort of trick the LinkedIn algorithm thinking that it's really popular. It's actually been shown that it's not that useful. It doesn't really make any difference to the algorithm by doing that. Generally, what happens on LinkedIn is it's like the golden 2 hours. So you post, those 2 hours after you post are the most important, and that's what the LinkedIn sort of algorithm will determine as to whether it's a popular post or not.
Oh,
so,
gosh.
Although, yes, if you add comments after like 4 or 5 days, it might keep your post alive a bit longer, but basically after 5 days, it's going to disappear anyway, or at least disappear for anyone else. What you might want to think about doing is to save it. So a lot of people don't realize that you can actually save a post. So for example, if I went to, well, you can do it from, if you're on anybody else's post, you can go to the top right, and then you can press save. So if I was to save this post, I'll just show it for an example. So if I save this, here on the left, there's a little section called My Items.
Right.
And you can save, and you can see here under save post ones you've saved. So sometimes what I do is, just for curiosity's sake, if I've done a post and I want to see how it's going to perform. So I did this one, which is a bit of a show-offy post, but it actually wasn't about LinkedIn, but it sort of skyrocketed. So I do keep going back just to see how many people have now viewed it. And it's actually interesting from that point of view. So I did this one I think it was about a week ago. A week ago. And it's still, so yesterday it was at 79,000. So it's still gaining traction a week later. But the comments, I don't think anyone's commented for a while on it. And to be honest, there were so many comments that I actually stopped. So there you go. It's actually not fake news, but you see, but they're now nowhere near as, they're like nowhere, they're far more spread apart than they were to start with. But it does, you can see that a week later, it is still helping. People commenting, it is still helping it push out. But your key is the first 2 hours. So if you work with anybody, or if you've sort of got any colleagues, or if anyone you could ask to comment on the post sort of quickly after you post it, that's the way forward. I mean,
so couple of questions. Michaela says, would other people's comments be more likely to boost the algorithm? And Debbie is asking, what time of day is best to post in order to obtain that golden 2 hours?
Okay, so it depends on where your network are based. So for example, if you had a network that's predominantly, say, based in, out in Asia, then I would post when is going to be popular over there. So even if it's not your sort of most popular time, the best times for posting, the stats have shown, are between 7 and 9 in the morning. I think it's sort of people browse over breakfast, browse the mobile app, what have you. So in the morning, and then the sort of about 5, 6 o'clock in the evening.
Oh, interesting.
And then lunch times are also, so, but on LinkedIn, it's a bit different to the other platforms. So posting it, like, it's pretty dark. If you start posting at sort of 10:30, 11 in the morning, or like 3 in the afternoon, you generally get quite low viewing figures. People, because basically people are at work, so they're basically, well, they should be at work, so they're basically not generally browsing their LinkedIn so much.
No, that's interesting.
Although I think there's probably, and I mean, there aren't enough stats yet, but with more and more people working from home, there's probably less people on their sort of commute into work. So that might have an effect over the long term as to when people are looking at their LinkedIn, because people will have like less regulated sort of hours from that point of view. But I would still, I mean, I know from my own posting and from other people's that it's still like early morning, late afternoon are like definitely the best times to post. And don't underestimate posting on weekends on LinkedIn. So I would suggest, if you don't want to be on your LinkedIn on the weekend, use a post scheduler and schedule it to go out in advance, because Sunday mornings are really good times to get traction.
Oh, really? That's so interesting.
I don't know why Saturday's a bit rubbish, but Sunday is a really good Sunday morning to get a lot of traction.
That's fascinating. Thanks for that tip. That's brilliant.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so yeah, just talking about content, mix it up, add some videos. If you're comfortable doing videos, you know, people like to see people. This I'm not going to go into much detail, but there is just that people often don't know it exists. There's like a slide share part of LinkedIn where you can say, for example, you produced some slides for a course that you've done at work, or you know, you've produced for clients and you want to share them more generally. You can upload them and people can then search on certain topics, and it's a special part of LinkedIn called SlideShare. So you might want to, so if you wanted to find out more about that, if you just sort of Google LinkedIn SlideShare. But it's a way that people can find you and to show your expertise, because you'll come up in searches. So it's just something that people might want to consider. Skill section, you can add up to 50 skills on LinkedIn on your profile, and they're ranked by search engines, especially if you want sort of like headhunters to find you, etc. You must add in all your skills that you have. You can basically add in any skill that you come up with, so it doesn't have to be one of like a predefined skill that they have. So if you do something really niche, you know, you can still put that in as a skill. It'll let you add it, and you want people to endorse you for those. So that's
brilliant. I don't think I've got 50 skills of anything.
You'll be surprised. I mean, I've seen people like add ones like literally like eating and drinking. I mean, literally, you can like add, but obviously, I mean, I would suggest that you add ones that you want to be found for. But even like, you know, you just think about when you think about your work on a daily basis, you'll be, you know, it might be drafting, it might be proofreading, it might be, you know, it might be negotiating, it might be conversation skills, it might be, you know, so I'm sure that most people have far more skills than they actually, you know, it's like sort of, you know, on the face of it, well, I suppose my skills would be like marketing and LinkedIn consultancy, but actually, you know, there's so much more to it on a daily basis, you know, content creation and writing and creative writing and you know, factual writing and you know, there'd be some like graphic design and, you know, strategy and business generation, and so that, you know, and so many of them are actually applicable to so many people, you know, people who are skilled at you know, business development and that side of things.
So if, I mean, for instance, if I put proofreading, which I don't actually do, but I can help people with through my, you know, my Rethink Press provides proofreading, so would that be acceptable, or is that sort of not what you should do?
Yeah, no, I would definitely put that down, because once somebody is drawn to your profile. It's your, you know, it might not be you. I mean, like, for example, I don't do graphic design myself. I'm not a graphic designer. However, we do graphic design for clients because I have a graphic designer. So so I would still want people to come to my profile because they might have searched for graphic design, but actually it would be within the sense that they're putting together a social media strategy and they need LinkedIn help. So it's worth putting on, even if it's not, so it doesn't necessarily have to be you yourself who actually carry that out, as long as it's not like too random. But,
right, no, that's really helpful. Great.
Yeah, so
okay, so we're on to tip 10, and I know
so I sort of covered that earlier, actually. I sort of covered that really about the URL, about personalizing it. And then I thought I'd just talk a bit about actually sort of engaging on LinkedIn, because how you come across is obviously what is going to govern, you know, how fast your network grows and with whom, and just sort of certain things which always need to sort of bear in mind. And I would always personalize LinkedIn invitations when you send them to people. You're better off to send less, but personalize them. People are more likely to accept them if you've actually taken the time to say why you've reached out to them, whether you've got, you know, you've got someone in common, or you saw that they viewed your profile, or you're members of the same LinkedIn group, or sort of trying to, you know, give a reason. Or I find that a lot of people actually connect. If I say, I saw your comment on so-and-so's post, having looked at your profile, I'd like to connect, that's a really good conversation starter. And they know that you've obviously then taken the time to look at, you know, to look at them and engage. So I would personalize the invitations, and always sort of think about giving rather than sort of, you know, what you can get back from the people you're connecting with. So, you know, I always sort of offer to introduce people. You know, you might want to send them something that's useful, send them, you know, you might want to send them a PDF or a little, you know, a short guide or a tip sheet or something like that. And people are generally really good, you know, people are really appreciative if you send them something that they don't have to pay for, or even better if you don't ask them to, like, I never ask people to download, like, to put in their email addresses on when I send them, when I'm sending them something. It's different. If they come to my website of their own volition, they just find me, then fine, that, you know, to get one of my downloads, they have to put in their email address. But if I'm sending someone something as a sort of, you know, gift, and, you know, I want to start some conversation, I don't ask for anything from them. And I mean, I'm sure maybe other people would say differently, but I don't use every opportunity as a sort of opportunity to sell, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to build relationships with, you know, people who want to work with me, and, you know, they appreciate, you know, what I've given them, what I do, and learn a bit about me, you know, before sort of, and hopefully they will say, I think I need some help, rather than me saying, you need my help. So
yes,
you know, that's
definitely the best way, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And there's so much, it always feels so much nicer when people come to you as inbound leads rather than you've sort of gone hustling to them. So yeah,
brilliant. Oh, that's fantastic. So Melanie, where can people find you? What can you know, do you do courses? Have you got a program that would take people that much further? What's the best place to get in touch with you? Well, obviously on LinkedIn, but
on LinkedIn. No, so I have my website, which is trevorzansocial.com. That has all the different tabs with, if people want one-to-one LinkedIn training, or if they want to group LinkedIn training. And I run an online course so people can follow in their own time, at their own pace, which is
brilliant.
It's actually accredited for continued professional development.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So
well, definitely put those in the comments. I think we've got those links.
Yeah, that would be great. So, and you know, everyone feel free to drop me an email, Melanie@trevorzansocial.com. So I'm always happy to answer ad hoc questions.
Absolutely brilliant. So will you come back? I mean, there may well be more questions. I think there are even some questions in the comments now that I haven't had time to come back to you on. But
feel free to connect and send me your questions on LinkedIn. It's fine.
Fantastic. Oh, that's great. Well, Melanie, thank you so much. That has been really, really enlightening and engaging. And I feel almost, I mean, some of what you're saying is so I mean, I don't mean to say it's blindingly obvious, but, you know, I should have thought of that myself. But, you know, your expertise is so valuable here. So thank you so much for sharing so much with us. And I'm sure we will be putting the program and the website in the so Michaela's just putting things in the comments as we speak, and yes, we will definitely. That's you. Michaela, I think you need to correct that one down there. It says melanine.
No, Melanie, MELANIE.
Yeah, no, that's great. Melanie, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time that you've given and the fantastic expertise. And I think yes, so we're getting, Patricia says, thank you so much, really appreciate all of that. Debbie says, thank you. Yeah, lots of fantastic advice there.
Right, thank you for having me.
Thanks a million, and hopefully everybody will be joining you on LinkedIn.
I hope so. Yeah, I look forward to it.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thanks.
Bye for now, everyone.
Bye.